Voice of the police echoed through the house. On a hot summer day, the police suddenly appeared at our house. Huh? I think there's been some mistake. My daughter is taking a nap right now. Despite saying that, cold handcuffs were placed on my wrists. I was taken away by the police and asked to meet with a child who had been found in the mountains. Upon seeing me, the child smiled joyfully and called out, "Mommy!" From that moment, unexpected tumultuous events awaited. I am Emily Johnson, a regular office worker at 33. My husband Tom works as a firefighter. We're a happy couple, living near our parents' home and raising our cherished 4-year-old daughter, Margaret. Recently, we've been blessed with our second child, who is growing healthily inside my belly. Margaret was looking forward to becoming a big sister. However, despite this happy news, I had a nagging feeling of unease. I was anxious about the future relationship between Margaret and her little sister, because I had always been troubled by my relationship with my own sister. We're identical twins. My twin sister's name is Catherine. Our parents poured endless love onto both of us without bias. But we grew up with opposite personalities. I was reserved and diligent, while Catherine was sociable, mingling with everyone, and a bit cunning. As children, we played happily together, but over time, I began to resent playing with her. The reason goes back to our elementary school days when we happened to be in the same class. Catherine started ignoring me and ostracizing me with her friends. Both our parents and teachers were puzzled by our poor relationship despite being twins. Recognizing this, they took care to place us in separate classes during shuffles. At home, Catherine's attitudes towards me became even harsher. If she saw me doing homework, she would scornfully said, "Look at this nerd." She once tore out a paper on my exam paper when I scored perfect due to my hard work. I remember crying bitterly when she tampered with my favorite practice outfit from a class I was taking. My parents scolded Catherine many times, but she only rebelled. "Dad and Mom favor you because you're the good daughter, don't they?" Catherine would often sulk after such outbursts. Despite our parents always treating us fairly, Catherine became more defiant and troublesome. When she entered middle school, her problematic behavior escalated. I was a regular student dedicated to my studies, but Catherine chose a completely different path. She started hanging out with bad influences and stayed out late. She would come home and break things or yell loudly, and that became part of her daily routine. Once, Catherine threw an ornament at me, and it hit my forehead, injuring me. Throughout childhood, I constantly struggled with how to deal with the selfish, self-centered, and mean Catherine. After middle school, we went to separate high schools. I went to a local college prep school, while Catherine barely got into another. However, she quickly dropped out. When she turned 18, Catherine suddenly left home and cut off all contact. According to my parents, she occasionally showed up, demanded money, and then quickly left. To be honest, I wanted to keep my distance from her. The last time I saw Catherine was during my first pregnancy. My husband and I have visited our parents when Catherine appeared at the family home, dressed gaudily and with heavy makeup. "Oh, big sis, you're here." Just as I began to reply, "It's been a while," Catherine smirked at our parents and said, "Hey, Dad, Mom, can you lend me some money? $300 will do." The parents looked bewildered at the younger sister, who brazenly asked for money. I automatically interrupted. "Catherine, stop borrowing money from our parents. You have a job, don't you?" "It's none of your business. Don't butt in. You've always acted like the good child, trying to suck up to our parents. It's so annoying. Every single time." She then glanced at my husband sitting next to me, sizing him up from head to toe with a smirk. "And who is this? Your husband? He looks mediocre. Isn't he a firefighter protecting people's safety? Well, he suits you." "Could you not speak ill of my husband?" "Then just keep quiet. It's none of your business." When I remained silent, she smirked triumphantly. "Just you wait and see. I will be more successful than you." I didn't fully grasp her intent, but behind her piercing gaze, I sensed something unsettling. In the end, fearing she might lash out again, the parents handed Catherine $3,000. Frustrated with her behavior, the parents called it their final payoff and seemingly cut ties with her. I hadn't seen Catherine for over 5 years since then. I had no idea what she was up to. Given our strained sibling relationship, I hoped my own children would cherish one another and be close. "You're worried they might end up like you and Catherine, aren't you?" "Don't worry. Our kids will get along just fine. But tell me, what activities do you want them to learn? And what kind of people do you want them to become?" What kind of children? Let me think. For the sisters, maybe I'll suggest the things I learned as a child. That's a great idea. Let's focus on helping them grow and supporting them in the best way we can. Whenever I face challenges, my husband always seems to sense it. I'm genuinely grateful to have such caring and sincere husband. Thanks to his support, I've been living happy days. As summer arrived, I entered my 7th month of pregnancy. However, on one scorching midsummer afternoon, an unexpected incident occurred. I had spent a delightful morning at the pool with my daughter Margaret. After lunch, as Margaret was napping, the house intercom suddenly rang. When I opened the door, a stern-faced police officer was standing there. "You're under arrest for abandoning a child in the mountains." "What? My daughter is currently napping. What are you talking about?" I couldn't comprehend what the police officer meant, but he stared at me with an angry expression. "The little girl found at the mountains had an ID tag on her. It clearly had your name and address written on it. Are you still going to play innocent?" As he pressed on with a harsh tone, the police officer took out handcuffs and cuffed my wrists. I was absent-minded, thinking it was some kind of mistake. But the cold mental's weight suddenly snapped me back to the dire reality I was facing. Desperately, I pleaded with the police to contact my husband and explain the situation, and to ask him to take care of Margaret. They granted my request, after entrusting my husband with the subsequent matters. I was taken to the police station. There, the police introduced me to the supposed daughter they claimed I had abandoned in the mountains. The girl was an unfamiliar child, about 3 years old, yet, upon seeing me, her face lit up with joy.
Mommy, I finally found you. You came to get me, didn't you?
At that moment, I could feel the eyes of the police officers on me, as if to say, "This must be your child after all." Given the circumstances, I couldn't blame them for thinking so. The girl's face indeed resembled that of mine and Catherine's when we were kids. And then, it struck me. This child is probably Catherine's child. She looks just like me. That's why she thought I was her mother. However, I had no idea why she was left in the mountains. And more puzzlingly, why my name and address were on her ID tag. But there was no doubt in my mind that she was Catherine's child. I desperately explained the situation to the police. In the end, the police confirmed that my only child was Margaret, and they allowed me to temporarily return home. Although I was freed, I couldn't help but worry about Karen, who was likely Catherine's child, being all alone at the police station. I quickly headed to my parents' house and told them about the day's events, asking them to contact Catherine. However, it seemed Catherine had changed her phone number and we couldn't reach her. Since the police couldn't immediately locate Catherine, my parents, being her grandparents, took custody of Karen. On the day Karen first came to my family home, she seemed very nervous and jittery. "Your name is Karen, right? Did your mom tell you she was going somewhere?"
I don't know. Where's Mom? I want to see her. You look like my mom, but you're not my mom, are you?
True. We do look alike, don't we? But no, I'm not your mom. I'm actually your aunt. And I am your grandmother. So you can feel safe and stay here with us. Hearing the kind words from my parents and me, the anxious expression on Karen's face faded, and she nodded in agreement. Karen, do you remember that day? The day you got separated from your mom in the mountains?
Mom said we were going for a drive. I was so happy because it was my first drive. But when we reached the top of the mountain, Mom made me get out of the car.
What? Why?
Then, while I was outside, Mom just drove away and left me alone. I walked around outside, but it was so hot. Gradually, I became thirsty, but there was nothing to drink. I tried really hard to find Mom, but I got sleepy and fell asleep in the mountains.
I had heard about that day's events from the police. Karen had collapsed from heat stroke and was rescued by hikers. Thinking about the hardship and loneliness she must have felt brought tears to my eyes.
Why did Mom leave me and disappear? I was so scared.
While feeling angry about what my sister had done, I didn't want to make Karen feel lonely anymore. I instinctively embraced her. At that moment, the realization that she was my biological niece became palpable, and my love for her deepened. How could anyone, especially to their own flesh and blood, do such a terrible thing? I'll never forgive Catherine. To ensure I didn't overwhelm Karen, I took my time to and carefully inquired about what she knew. Thanks to Karen remembering the name of the store where Catherine worked, I was able to quickly identify my sister's location. Karen informed me that Catherine worked in the entertainment district of the neighboring city and lived in an apartment nearby. Let's pretend that Dad has passed away and call Catherine. If he sent a letter saying we want to discuss inheritance, I bet she'll definitely come home. I know it's painful to fake Dad's death, but what do you think? For Karen's sake, let's do it. I quickly wrote the letter and placed it in the mailbox. A few days later, as expected, Catherine came home. I entrusted Karen to my husband while my parents and I confronted Catherine. Seeing us, she looked baffled.
What's this? I thought Dad was supposed to be dead. What's happening with the inheritance?
That was just a pretext to get you here. It was a lie. However, there's something far more important we need to discuss.
What's important things? I have nothing to talk about.
Don't run away. It's about Karen.
Oh, you found her? Where is she now?
My husband is taking care of her right now. I can't let her see you.
So she's alive and has even become attached to the family and you, huh? Just keep her then. You're happy, right?
I was dumbfounded by Catherine's attitude, and without my parents or I asking, she unashamedly began explaining how Karen came to be born. It turned out that Karen was the child of a customer at the shop where Catherine was working at the time. This customer pretended to be a company president, and Catherine believed that having his child would make her the president's wife, leading to a complete turnaround in her life. So she became pregnant and gave birth to Karen. However, it was revealed that the man was not a company president, but just a part-timer who disappeared without taking any responsibility.
Since I had her, I reluctantly raised her. But I've recently gotten a new boyfriend, and having a child gets in the way, you know?
I was astonished that my sister would say such irresponsible things. I understand your selfish reasons, but why did you give her a missing child tag with my name and address on it?
Oh, that. I thought she would probably die in the mountains. If someone find her body,
They think she's your child, and no one would contact her to me, leaving me free. Things turned out just as I planned, right? She was delivered to your place. So who's smarter now, me or you? Seeing Catherine laugh shamelessly as she spoke, I lost my patience. Karen was about to die from heat stroke without water. Are you really her mother? You must be out of your mind. My sister mocked my distressed words. People die when they die. You're stupid, aren't you? In the end, she's alive. Isn't it fine? Someone, as I expected, brought Karen to your place, right? Aren't you surprised? I exploded with anger at Catherine's excessively selfish words. Who do you think brought Karen? She was taken into custody by the police. The police! Do you understand?
What? Why the police?
Catherine looked at me with a shocked expression. It seemed she hadn't imagined that it had become a police matter. How much lack of imagination do you have? Normally, if a child is left in the mountains, the police will act. And they came to my house. I was handcuffed. They are still looking for you.
That can't be true. There's no way.
You're too dumb. The police told me to report immediately once I know your whereabouts. I had already had my mother contact the police. The police will be here soon. I informed her, and Catherine, flustered, turned pale and stammered.
What? Am I going to be arrested?
Of course. As I've said, I was handcuffed too. It's only natural that you'll be arrested. You are not a child. Take responsibility for your actions.
This can't be a joke. I was about to start a new life. There's no way I'm getting arrested. I can't be caught.
Catherine suddenly stood up and tried to flee from the entrance while shouting. However, I quickly blocked her way. She glared at me with bloodshot eyes.
What can a pregnant woman like you do? If you care about your unborn baby, get out of the way. Or should I punch your big belly?
If you dare, then come. I will stand my ground. I confronted Catherine and shouted at her. Catherine raised her fist, genuinely trying to hit me, and lunged at me. But the next moment, with a loud thud, Catherine spun around and fell on the floor from her back.
Ouch! Why did you do that?
Oh, did you forget? Taekwondo. I've been learning it for a long time. Indeed, I have been practicing Taekwondo since my childhood, intending to teach it to my daughters. I never thought that the Taekwondo I learned to defend myself would come in handy to restrain my sister. I quickly grabbed Catherine's wrist to prevent her from escaping and pinned her to the ground using a technique with my legs.
Ow! Let go! It hurts! The police are coming, so release me!
Even if I'm pregnant, immobilizing you is no big deal. The police will be here soon, so behave.
You stupid sister. Do you really think it's okay to do this to your sibling?
It's too late to conveniently mention family or sister now. As I tightened my grip, Catherine couldn't bear the pain and cried out again.
It really hurts. It's gonna break. Stop it. I'm saying it'll break. I'm so sorry. Please stop.
I had no intention of letting go.
Dad, Mom, please stop her. Is he crazy? It hurts. It's gonna break.
However, our parents ignored Catherine, stood between us, and restrained her. Soon after, we heard the sound of a police car approaching. The police officers entered the house, assessed the situation, and initially looked surprised, but then got Catherine to her feet for identification. Catherine drooped her shoulders, and whether from pain or the realization of being caught, she was half crying as she was escorted into the patrol car and taken away. Later, Catherine was charged with abandoning Karen in the mountains and was sent to prison. Her boyfriend quickly abandoned her, and she, having chosen to cut ties with us, probably had no friends or family to help her after her release. I don't know how my sister, now with a criminal record, will live in the future. I can only hope she reflects on her actions behind bars and takes steps towards a new life. Meanwhile, Karen was taken in by my parents and is being raised with love. I frequently visit my parents' house with my daughter. The two, now close cousins, are currently attending taekwondo classes together, learning self-defense. Even after the birth of the second child, Karen and Margaret, as sisters, dote on a new baby in the family. Occasionally, seeing the three of them napping together brings a smile to my face. I hope to build happy days ahead, showering Karen with all the love possible and ensuring that the entire family lives happily.